Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Foreman community demo. So as usual, we want this demo to be as interactive as possible. Everyone demoing today is hoping to hear your feedback, and feel free to write questions and comments to us on Libera chat at the Foreman, and you can also write here on the YouTube live chat, as both will be monitored. From my end, everything looks good so far. We have allegedly excellent connection today, but as you know, and things on a live stream, especially the connection, can sometimes be a bit, how would you say, as my good colleague Stephen used to say, can go a bit suboptimal. So if you experience any difficulties, any lag, if the sound goes, please let me know, and you're very welcome to join us here over on the Google Meet if necessary. So, so first of all, before I go on, as you might have noticed, we have reached demo number 100. The first demo that I can find is first demo that I can find is from 6 years ago, and that demo is labeled demo number 1, and it's hosted by Eric Helms and starts with a demo from Ori Rabin. She demos some new fields in the Foreman web UI for discovered hosts, but looking through the records, I suspect the numbering was a bit, shall we say, inconsistent at times. So all the same, if we look through the Foreman YouTube channel, there has been a lot demoed, a lot of contributions over the past 6 years. Folks have been regularly contributing and participating, and we still to this day remain open and engaged with our new features. So here's to 100 more. To celebrate the milestone, Lukasz lzap has prepared a short quiz to test your knowledge on Foreman. And so I just have a few announcements, but in the meantime, maybe get a pen and paper ready, or alternatively paste your answers into Libra or into YouTube chat. And so before that, just a few announcements. So the Foreman 3.0 is currently being prepared for GA, so keep an eye out for the release announcement. It should be coming soon. We will tweet, we'll post on our discourse, and if you have any feedback on that or on release candidates that you're testing, do let us know. And also the first release candidate for Katello 4.2 was released and is ready for testing. You can find out more about that on our community discourse. Okie doke. So one last thing, if you want to stop the use of Spice Girls GIFs in our newsletter and on Twitter, please complete the Foreman community survey. As we're not doing a lot of, just say, sidebar chats at conferences this year, it's really, really helpful to get as much feedback as possible from the community. As you know, we don't track anyone in any kind of way that tells us anything that isn't self-reported. So please do take the time. You can find a link in the YouTube description for that as well. So without further ado, I'm going to pass you over to Lukasz to begin the quiz.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Mel. I'm gonna share my okay, Google Slides. Yes, so you should see my knowledge quiz window. Where can I change? No. Okay, so here are the rules. There are no rules, so you can have fun. You know, that was the original idea of mine. Thanks for all who participated and sending me some questions. So these are not my questions entirely, although I did a bunch of them. We have probably about 20 questions. If you have a piece of paper and pen, you can put down your answers. These will be ABC questions, and then in the end you can count your points if you want to, and share share us your results in a YouTube chat, a live chat, or if you're watching this from recording, you can still have a fun and share then your results in the YouTube comments as well. If you like to participate this more like by a live chat, just feel free to send your answers to the chat if you like. Just don't look at the chat if you really want to go hard and you want to go for the win. Hopefully we'll have some winner. There are no prizes though, so it's just for fun. All right. So let's move on. I'll reveal the questions first, and I'll wait a few seconds, and then I'll reveal answers. So Ohad Levy is the original author with Paul Kelly of Foreman project, Foreman open source project. And my first question is when the very first commit was pushed into the Git repository. So what was it, 2009, 8, or 7, A, B, C? It's actually 7, 8, and 9 in that order. So yeah, you can check this in the Git, of course. If you scroll the history down to the bottom, you'll see the first commit. And I'm gonna reveal the answer. So 3 to 1, the correct answer is C. It's July 2009. So count your points if you're doing that. And hopefully you guys are having fun in the chat as well. Let's move on to the second question. So at the time when the first commit was done, which version of Ruby on Rails was current, was stable at the time? So was that Rails 1, 2, or 3? That's the question. So you can probably guess, was it 2009? Yeah, I think. So it's hard to guess. I don't know. I was not sure. I actually missed this one. And the answer is, it's B. It was Rails 2.x when Ohad did his first commit. Let's move on. This one is nice. So which model class was first introduced? So there is a commit. Indeed, I think it's the third or fourth commit. Is it adding setting or user or host? So I handpicked those candidates. It can be pretty much anything, right? So probably you want to start with one of these. And the correct answer is, it's indeed host, our most beloved model. It's not the most complicated class ever in the software history, I guess. It is the host. Right. Now, I said that Ohad did his first commit 2009, July. But when the first version of Foreman 1.0 was released, so A, was it actually the first commits, or B, was it 2 years later, or C, 3 years later? Going once and twice, and the correct answer is C, was 3 years later. Yeah, it is not easy, right, to release software, so it's no surprise. I should probably make a different order of these ABC answers. Now, let's move on. The Foreman project uses a lot of terminology, a lot of project names. Which of these three were not used as a name of something? So is that wrench, or B, construction day, or C, wrecking ball? This one can be tough if you're new. You haven't seen all our repositories. I think we have 200 repositories in the foreman.org, sorry, Foreman organization. And the correct answer is wrench, AB. Because construction day, that's an event that we used to run in Gent. And wrecking ball is, I believe, a VMware plugin. So wrench is the correct answer. Okay, It's getting tough. How many lines of Ruby, only Ruby, please, not JavaScript, not HTML, just Ruby, do you think our core, Foreman core Git repository contain? So how many lines of Ruby do we have? I counted this last week, so it's roughly, the number is not exact. I hope that nobody deleted thousands of lines, but roughly speaking, the correct answer is B. Not bad, not the best, not bad, but we have some amount of Ruby code, and we also have a JavaScript code as well, which is increasing, I guess, so I haven't counted that. But I do have one nice question on JavaScript, don't worry. So merchandise, Foreman is happy to be sponsored by many organizations and individuals. We are very happy for that, and we have some merchandise, of course. Over the years, we've collected a lot of items, but which one is the most rare? So if you have socks, is that a rare merchandise, or helmet, or an umbrella? That is the question. And the correct answer, and I don't have this item yet, I hope to get it someday, it is the umbrella. Yeah, it's sweet, and I've seen one, and that was it. So it's very rare. We all want it, I guess. Okay, to-do items, to-do comments. We do them all the time, right? So I've counted to-do comments in our both Ruby and JavaScript code base in Foreman core. So we're not including plugins and anything, just the core Foreman repository. So how many to-do items do we have? Do you think it's one? I think that's reasonable. We might fix them all. Is that 26? Well, I don't think so. It must be C, right? So the correct answer is it's B. It's a 26 to-do. I counted last week, so hopefully it hasn't increased. Okay. And this one is fairly easy. I think we had this on our slides. I'm pretty sure I said this multiple times on conferences. How many unique developers contributed to core Git repository? Now, I haven't excluded multiple contributors. For example, many of us contributed with a different name, for example, with or without diacritics, or with a different email, maybe a home email and company email. So that number can be a little bit lower. So it's just git -- authors -- something. I don't remember the command. So if you answered A, you're correct. That is the correct answer. For 450 unique developers contributed to this date. It's probably a little bit less, but it is still an impressive number. Thank you. Now, Greg came up with the idea of birthday parties when Foreman turned 7 years old. But the question is, how many events were run in 2016? 3, 6, or 9? So during the year of 2016, how many Foreman events were held? Now, if you answered A, that's incorrect answer, because it's 6. Edinburgh, Antwerp, Nuremberg, Tel Aviv, Washington, and Raleigh, United States. These are the 6 events we were able to gather. This one is contributed by Kirk. Thank you very much. And it's tough. It's tough. I really am hoping to see that someone really guessed it. Okay, this one is fairly easy. If you have a Foreman GitHub page open on your screen, don't look at it, because the number is right there. How many commits do we have to date in the core repository? 5K, 9K, 14K. And I'm pretty sure that most of us who work regularly with the core GitHub repository knows that it is 9,400. And yeah, I've recently updated the number. So it's something like that amount of commits we have. Okay, it's one interesting. How many, who are the most empathic users in the Foreman community, just judged by reward that our community software discourse gives? It's empathic badge, and it's awarded if you received 500 likes or more and gave 1,000 likes or more. So is that Greg and Mel? Is that Tomer or me? Or is that Oed and Paul, the original authors of the project? And the correct answer is B. You can check that if you go to badges on those discourse. Okay, so the JavaScript one is, how big is the node modules directory on a development setup? So if you check out Foreman Git repo, and if you do npm install, you will end up with node modules directory. And if you do du command on that directory, how big it is. You think, is that 2, 3, or 80 gigs? Right? So the correct answer is, it's fairly small. It's just a little bit of over 2 gigabytes. Okay, no one managed to get devotee badge for visiting the community for 365 consecutive days. That's a lot, but we have some amount of people that were rewarded with a badge that Discourse gives for 100 days without any break. So that's an impressive number, and we have some of them. How many of our community users do we have, do you think? Is that 2, 3, or 4? So it's Dirk sent me these questions, and I was really surprised that anybody actually was so eager to read the community news and community and was eager to help on our discourse. So that's really impressive. And we have 4. These 4 nicks were awarded with this very rare aficondao. I really am I'm not able to pronounce that, this badge. Okay, and we have the last one. This is the last one. So who contributed the original forklift logo? A forklift is a tool that lives in our the Foreman GitHub organization, and it is a set of vagrant configuration and Ansible scripts which can help you setting up your development environment. There are a couple of other things you can do with that. And who created the nice logo? And the correct answer was actually Eric. He's the logo. It's wonderful. It's Eric's drawing, and Steven added the Photoshop, should I say, last touches and enhancements, and Daniel merged it. So this was the last one. Thanks for everyone who supports us and everyone who sent me those questions. I hope you had fun, just like me, when I was preparing this this section. And now please do your math, count your answers if you're doing that, and drop us a comment in the chat or on our discourse, or if you're watching this from recording, drop in our YouTube comments. We want to hear who's the winner, who's one of the best community users with the best memory, because I'm pretty sure we'll have multiple winners, I guess. And that's it for me. I hope you had fun, and back over to you.
Thanks very much, Lukasz. Looking at the answers as they came in, I was surprised actually. They were more correct than I thought there were going to be, and the ones that were not correct were optimistic, shall we say. Always the glass half full, always hoping the best. So thank you so much, Lukasz. And now we will begin our demo for the day. So let me just check. We have a change in the format from usual. So the Katello demos will run first. So up first is Samir, and Samir is going to talk to us about a few things. New content view UI, all related basically to the content view UI additions features. And I'll let you introduce it, Samir. I think you'll do a better job.
Thanks, Melanie. So for today's demo, let me start sharing my screen here. For today's demo, I wanted to start with creating a RPM filter, and the demo actually is to add RPM filter rules. So to add a rule, you have a model here. I know I have a Walrus package. So this is how you add a rule. Andrew demoed this model in the last demo. So we have this. So that was creating RPM filter rules. I'll go ahead and demo bulk adding and removing. So let's try this. Yeah, so we have bulk addition and removal of filter rules. So bulk addition is supported in rules which provide you a list. So you can select multiple. And you can also remove multiple. All right, and the next part of it is the ability to apply a filter to subset of repositories. So we have a drop-down on the right. Applying it to subset of repositories enables the affected repositories tab, and you can basically add repositories you want the filter to apply to when publishing a content view. So as you can see, we added these two repositories. We can go ahead and remove these. Once you remove these, the setting goes back to apply to all repositories, and you can no longer see the affected repositories tab. And yeah, that was all I had.
That is great, Samir. Thank you very much. Let me just check. Do we have questions? But we don't, and I think there is a little bit of a delay from what I can see. So if you have any questions for Samir, if you have any comments about what you just saw, please just write at any time and I will ask him. And we will move on now to our next demo, which is from Andrew. And Andrew is going to also talk about some UI changes to content views and about the adding the container tag filter to detailed page.
Thank you, Melanie. I'm just going to share my screen like everyone else has done. Okay, that should now be spitting, and away I go. Okay, so I added container image tag filter rules, and I'll show you that in a minute. But I did want to point out that the pages that we're looking at and that Samir's looking at just now, this was the old page. And there's some small changes to the UI that we think it made things a little bit more convenient. So if you notice, the RPM filters used to be separated from the container image filters, as well as from all other filters, kind of brought into two different locations. Now, when you're creating a filter, you can just choose among your types, and then you have a single table to see that. So it's quite a different flow and a little bit more convenient, in my opinion. Onto what I built. So very similar to what Samir just demoed, you'll see that this screen looks almost identical for adding a filter rule. If you have pre-existing ones, you can edit them quite easily. Yeah, and it's the same kind of functionality as on all the other pages. So our goal there is obviously to have some consistency in design to make it really easy to add and remove filter rules. We do have the bulk remove. For this particular one, there's no bulk add. Yeah, that's about all I have to show you for today. Very simple, just adding and removing filter rules for specifically container images.
Perfect, Andrew. Thank you very much. And I don't see questions at the moment, but let me just pause for a moment. Nope, we can continue. And if there are questions at any time, you know what to do. So thanks again, and we will move on to Partha. So Partha is going to talk to us about the new hosts UI, content view host details.
Awesome. Thank you, Melanie. Let me share my screen. All right. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yeah, it has arrived.
Awesome. We did it. Okay. So yeah, so we added a new contact view details card to the hosts page. So if you go to the new hosts page here, new details page, right? If you go there, you see this pretty looking card. You can click on any of these things and they'll take you to the right places. One of the notable things that I think it's a little more information than what was there previously. We have like the version in use and whether it's the latest or not. It's fairly minor change, but I think it adds value. So yeah, that was pretty much all I wanted to demo. So thank you.
That is perfect, Partha. Thank you very much. And there's just been one comment for both, just saying that everything looks great, Samir and Andrew. So thank you very much for that. And we can move on to the next demo, which is from Mr. Nook himself, who's going to talk to us about, so Chris is here, and he's going to talk to us about, instead of talking about our debt, our Animal Crossing debt, we're going to have some new hosts UI tracer page information.
Yes, thank you, Melanie. Let me go ahead and share my tab here. We can get back to the debt another time.
It never goes away.
It never goes away. All right, can you see that okay?
Perfect, Chris, thank you.
All right. So one of the things that we got just merged in recently and converted over is the traces tab. So this is the old page right now. So I do actually have a host here with real traces on it. So we can select them, we can see, and we can restart. So I want to show what the new page looks like. We'll go to all hosts. It just might be slow because it's my dev box. New details page. And we'll go to traces here. So we do see that we have the same amount of traces. It looks similar. We can search. So we can do helper. So the search works. And then one of the things too is also Jeremy is working on bulk adding and selecting and restarting. I know he's actually got that to work. So that is going to be improved on even more. So the restart app button will work and so forth. So that's what I wanted to show us, the redesign of this page.
And we have one comment, Chris, just asking, can you share your island with us?
Ah,
Is it,
another time. Another
okay.
time. But yes, he will collect his debt. So
He's always paid in the end.
yeah.
Thank you. Okie doke. Let me see. So if we move out of the Animal Crossing sphere and back towards the demos. So we have a foreman-maintain related demo from Ian now. So we're going to, Ian's going to talk to us about multi-line pulp migration output.
All right, thanks, Melanie. Just gonna get my screen shared. All right, so I just have a quick update here on foreman-maintain relating to the Pulp 2 to 3 migration that you'll be doing on 3.18 before going up to Katello 4.0, for those of you who haven't done it yet. If you ran the content prepare step before, you would have noticed that the output is done on a single line. So if you're trying to pipe it to a log, or if you're just like, having it in screen and then expecting to check it up later to see what the output was, you would find that like this, you'd have a single line that is overwritten. So we've changed the default now to make it a bit more verbose. So by default, it'll look more like this. So you'll run content prepare, and then all of these lines originally would have just been on one line, and it would have been overwritten, but now it's all split out so that you can see everything that's going on. And if you don't want this behavior, there's a new flag. It's -q or --quiet. And you'll see that too in the help text for content prepare. So hopefully this makes things a little bit easier and makes it for a better user experience. But yeah, that's all for me. Quick update. That
is great, Ian. Thank you. Looks fantastic. And then bang on time now. We have Marek with us, and Marek is going to talk to us about a number of Foreman-related items, host parameter, form scrolling, comment available in the safe mode for the templates, Ansible support for the passphrased keys, and also remote execution job notifications. If you are there, Mark, do you need a minute to get yourself set up?
No, I think all should be set up. So hopefully you can see now my screen.
You can indeed, yeah.
Okay.
You probably can't make it a little bit bigger.
Yeah, I'll explain in a minute. So
no problem.
This is actually a recording just to illustrate how it behaved before. Now you can see the host parameter form where user is setting parameters. And as you can see, once they add 2 of them or 3 of them, they need to scroll down. Yeah, they need to scroll down, add another parameter, fill it in, and that repeats based on the amount of your parameters, right? So I will show you the change that I implemented some time ago to solve this tiny issue, which is if you go to the host parameter form here, now the button is actually on top of the table. If you click on that and add a parameter 1, you click on that again, you see that we are adding the fields on the top of the form. So you can add as many as you want without all the time scrolling to the bottom and one. Yeah, simple thing. Hopefully will make someone happy. At least it made me happy. So that's one thing. The other small thing is making the comment available in the safe mode. So what it's all about, as you know, every host can have a comment. That's an arbitrary thing you can use to make notes or something. There was a user in the community asking for a way how they can define the message of the day on the server during provisioning based on this comment field. So basically, the use case is when you provision a new machine, you want to deploy some custom message of the day content to your host. So for that, the only thing we had to do is just add this field into the safe mode. And then you can easily use it in the provisioning template. So I'll illustrate that in the Kickstart template, but it's basically the same for Debian as well. So the way you can now use it is if you open the template, actually we'll make a clone so we can edit that. Scroll down to the section, to the post section, so maybe somewhere around here. We could do something like echo comment to see the day. One thing to keep in mind in here, the host command could also contain some weird characters, so it's good to use, I think it's show if echo we have here. And then if we preview the change, scroll down, here we go. Here's our echo, and the content of the comment is, this is the testing host, feel free to break it. Store it in the MLTD, and now if I also enable the safe mode, it should still render. So that's basically, yeah, that's to illustrate the functionality. You can imagine that you can put whatever data you want into the comment. You could use JSON or YAML or whatever and make some custom logic, but this is just a simple thing to show. All right. Another thing I wanted to show is the support for the passphrased SSH keys in Ansible. So if you happen to use a non-default SSH key that the installer generates, but you have a SSH key which is protected with the passphrase, your job would, well, when you start it, it would hang forever because there is it asks basically for the password and nothing is filling it in. But if you then cancel it, you would see some output like this. So just for you to see, this instance actually has the key with the passphrase. If you go to the job invocation form for regular SSH, we had this private key passphrase. We actually had that for Ansible as well, but it didn't work. So now with the change, this is running an Ansible command. Just print the content of the message of the day. You can now specify the private key passphrase. In this case, it's going to be scan change me. We submit that, and now the job should actually succeed. This is possible thanks to the Ansible runner that we use as an engine to run Ansible, because it has some layer that actually scans for the password inputs. And we can see it succeeded now. And we see that it prints the message of the day satellite, message of the day message that it's managed by satellite. So that's that. And the last thing I wanted to show is remote execution job notifications. So maybe you have noticed there is a new notification here. So until now, we had notification drawer notifications only when the job succeeded. But now we also have a notification when the message failed. So this is the one that I ran previously, but failed because of the passphrase. So that's one addition. But you know, in my use case, I actually have a Foreman instance which I don't log in to every day, and it's configured to run Ansible once a day. And if I don't log into the Foreman, I wouldn't see this notification drawer notification, right? There's also this dashboard widget that shows you the last jobs, which is great. That was showed by Peter last demo, but again, has the same problem. I had to log in into the Foreman to actually see that something has failed. And that was the reason why I actually implemented some new type of notification, because after 15 days, I realized my Ansible is actually not running. So I added a new email notification for remote execution. So if you go to your email preferences, you can see there's a new type of the email notification called remote execution job. And by default, you're subscribed to no emails, so you don't get any emails. But you can subscribe to failed jobs or succeeded jobs, or you can get an email about a job with any result. And how that looks like, so let me show you one example notification of that. So this is the email that arrived, and content is like this. So you see what job has been run and the result, the number of hosts and failed hosts. and the link to the Foreman instance where you can actually see the job for more details. And that's about it.
That is great, Mark. Thank you so much for showing all those different items to us. Let me just check and see, are there any questions for you, Mark? Because this is the end today of our user-focused demos. So far, we don't have any questions, but we still have a little bit of time because we have some developer-focused demos that we're going to look at now. So if you do have any questions from Mark on any of those components, just feel free to ask in the next few minutes. Okie doke. So we move on to the developer-focused demos, and first up is Ryan. And Ryan is going to talk to us about Katello and specifically Python, generic Python remote options UI.
Yeah, thank you. So let me just start sharing my screen here. Go. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to show, first I'm going to show the remote options UI for the Python repository type in the new repository and the repository info screens. And then I'm going to explain the a bit because it's done generically, and I think that's what makes it really cool. But let's just start with Python. So if I go to new repository here, and I select Python as the type, there's a few things to note. First is there's this Python specific description for the upstream URL. And then a little further down, there's these three Python specific remote options, excludes, includes, and package types. They all have their own distinct descriptions. And they also handle their inputs differently. Includes and excludes will take the names of packages separated by new line, like these, for example. Package types will take the names of package types separated by a comma. I'm going to just put like a random value in here and create the repo. And then let's just take a look at the info screen. So you can see in the info screen here, we have the same three remote options here: Python specific, excludes, includes, and package types. And these are all editable from here as well. So first, I'm just going to get rid of this test value. And then I want to sync the repo and include a package. In this case, I'm going to include a small package so it doesn't take long to sync. So it'll grab this package from pypy.org when it syncs. So let me go ahead and sync the repo. And that would probably take like 10 seconds. And almost done. And then now that it's synced, let's take a quick look at the publish.dat URL so we can check the contents here. So you can see the two shelf reader packages that have been included in the sync. So that's the remote options for Python, which is super cool. But again, what makes this, I think, really cool is how it's implemented. So I'm just going to switch my screen over to some of the code so I can explain a little bit about how the implementation works. So let's see. I just got to switch over screen here. Okay. So here we are in the registration file for the Python repository type. And there's quite a bit of information here, but what's things to focus on are right here. So we have these 3 generic remote options, and these are the same things that you saw a second ago in the UI. You can see here like for example, the titles. We have includes, excludes, package types, the descriptions, those custom descriptions. We have the input type specified. So for the includes and excludes, that was a text area, new line separated, right? But then for package types, it was a text box and it was comma separated. So all that information, and then the UI is generated dynamically just based on the information that's listed here in the repository type registration file. All the Python specific information is here. Quick look at the HTML. So you can see here in this div, there's this generic remote options array. And so that's just being iterated through. And then the UI is being generated based on, again, the options that you just saw. So for example, those descriptions are displayed here. And the input type is just a conditional based on what's specified in this registration file. So that's really cool because for one, it's really easy to say add a new remote option. Ordinarily, these remote options are just hard-coded for each case, but in this case, to add a new one for Python, you could just add a new one of these lines here, and it'll generate dynamically. Or in the future, for another content type, instead of having to go and type up all the HTML that might be needed for however many remote options there are, again, it's just a matter of adding these file, something like this, to the registration file. That's all I had to show. But thank you. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Super cool, Ryan. Thank you very much. Let me check for questions. So I think we are good, Ryan. So we can move on to our final demo of the day. And for that, we have Jeremy. And Jeremy is going to talk to us about using Patternfly. Why is that word so hard for me? Using Patternfly for composable tables.
It is a hard word to say. You're right.
I just the N disappeared there. I had like a pitter patter rather than a pattern. Sorry.
So hopefully you can all see my slides here. Just want to take a minute today to tell you about improvements we've made to how we deal with Patternfly tables in our React code in Katello. And this is due to some improvements made for Patternfly 4, so I'd like to acknowledge the Patternfly folks for that and thank them. But anyway, let's start at the beginning. So since Patternfly 3, they've provided us a React component for tables, which is based on a library called Reactabular. And this is a screenshot. I don't know how well you can see it, but it doesn't really matter. It's a screenshot of how it's normally used. And if you've ever worked with HTML tables before, or even React tables, you might take a look at this and think that it's a little bit odd, because instead of having your table HTML element and then table header and table rows and so on, what you're doing here is you're creating JavaScript objects with all of your data. And once you assemble these objects, you would pass them down as props. So you would have a columns and a rows prop, and that's how a lot of our tables are in Foreman and Katello. They use this pattern, but there's a lot of problems with this. So this is just a snippet of the real code that's running right now in Katello. This is our subscriptions table, and you can see that's there's a lot of complexity there. You have all sorts of formatter functions, and the main thing that I notice is you can't really see what's going on by looking at the code. You can't see the markup of what the table's going to look like. You have to look in all of these various places. So if we move forward a little bit to some of the more recent tables we've made in Patternfly 4, it gets a little bit better. Because at least everything's in one file or fewer files, but it's still a little bit confusing because, again, there's no markup that illustrates what the table's going to look like once it's actually rendered on the screen. And you have to look in a few different places. Another issue with it is that your JSX, the markup, kind of gets interspersed with the React component logic. And so you end up with functions like these build cells or build rows functions. And if you look at this, it's a function that returns an array of objects, and there's JSX markup inside the object, but it's not it's not a pure like React component. It can't be called that. So it just feels a little bit disorganized and odd. Another issue with this approach is the way it's built necessitates keeping your table data in React local state. And furthermore, most of the time you also have to synchronize that with the props coming in. And if you've ever been a React developer, you know that is absolutely no fun at all. So that's the problem. What are we going to do about it? I was very happy to discover a few months ago that Patternfly 4 has introduced a composable table component, and it's called table composable. And I just saw this the other day. They've actually made table composable the default moving forward. So if you see on their documentation site here, they have React composable, and then they call the old one React legacy, which I think is great. So composable tables have huge benefits. Instead of assembling objects everywhere and doing what I just showed you, all you have to do is just map through your data. And you can see there, you can see immediately what the table markup is going to be. You see your table head, table rows. You see the column headers being mapped there on the left side, and then on the right side in the bottom half of the screen in your T body, you see us mapping through results there, and you see the table row TR and TD elements. So there's no more guessing. You see it right there in your render method, what the table is going to be composed of. There's no more need to use local state for table rows. So it erases that complexity. There's no need to use separate formatter or build rows functions. Your data, logic, and markup are neatly separate and organized. And it's much easier to get started, and it'll probably cause less bugs if you write tables this way. So I've used table composable in a few places in Katello, and I've really liked it. I liked it so much, in fact, that I updated the Katello table wrapper component so that you have the option of using it. Both ways are still in there, but you have the option of using it now. So if you develop in Katello, you can either use the new table wrapper, or you can use Patternfly's table composable component directly. And if you're in Foreman, you can use table composable. And I think we're thinking about donating table wrapper at some point in the future. So if you're working with tables anytime in the future, I definitely encourage you to look at using this composable table moving forward and having that be your default. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jeremy. That was great. Let me just check. Do we have any immediate questions as we are at the end of our demo now? And as usual, if you think of something, if you have been watching along with us today and you think of something at a later point, feel free to ask on either our community discourse or as a YouTube comment, and I will chase up an answer for you at a later stage. So I think if there are no questions, I would like to sincerely thank everyone who came along and demoed and made our 100th demo that bit special. Thank you very much to Lukasz for organizing the quiz and everybody who participated and also helped with the quiz questions. I think that is everything for now. So any future comments, any future questions, requests, just reach out to us and we will see all of you in a few weeks. So thank you very much for watching and take care. Have a good day.